Let's start with Greg Newsome, who is probably the highest rated of the four corners we're going to talk about today. He's a very interesting kid out of Northwestern, not super big or long, but did test in the 96th percentile. What did you see from Greg Newsome when you saw him on tape?
Just a very versatile young quarterback. He's very slight. He's like a beanpole. He's very leggy with long arms, very thin, has great click and close, very easy and off man coverage, has the feet to succeed in press as well. He has a great pedal. He attacks the ball well at the point of attack. He uses his length in the air well. He can be overpowered because he is a little bit smaller than some of these other corners, but he does do a good job of tracking the football and using his length. He's very versatile coverage player, maybe one of the most versatile coverage players in this draft out of probably Surtain. His pedals and his side saddles are both very clean, and really he doesn't look more comfortable in one than the other. I can easily see him fitting in most schemes. Comfortable on either side. That they clearly played him wherever they needed at Northwestern. He was obviously their best player on defense. He has the hips to mirror his opponent and then uses length to deny the wide receiver the ball. He's a solid tackler. J.C. Horn is a guy that gets mentioned a lot, that people worry about his penalties. I have worries about Newsome just as much there. I think he can really get very grabby at times. I think J.C. Horn may even be a little bit better at hiding his holds, a little bit better about not after the snap, because after the snap, JC's always looking at the refs to see if there's a penalty, but I think he is a little bit better in snap of hiding a little bit. Lack of size kind of shows up at the line of scrimmage and press sometimes. Just a couple of notes from Sports Info Solutions. He was their number one cornerback in this draft in total points per game last year, by quite a large margin, actually. He was number 2 in EPA per target. He was at negative 0.69 EPA every time he got targeted. And number 1 cornerback in deserved catch rate. They do a metric called deserved catch rate, which basically measures the amount of targets that were thrown that cornerback's way that should have been caught, that did get caught, and that they include drops there. And he was at 43%, which is an incredibly low number for the amount of targets he had there. And he also led all draftable cornerbacks in pass breakups per game at 1.4. All these are a little bit messed up because of the odd year that we had with COVID. But obviously, he is an analytics darling, to say the least. Where does he win? I think he's a scheme agnostic coverage corner, and some unanswered questions. If he adds some strength, will that allow a better press at the line of scrimmage and therefore less penalties? That's really my main concern. Is he does seem to get a little bit penalty heavy at times because he is a little bit under strength.
Yeah, so I'm just going to be very upfront with you. This is my favorite corner that we're going to talk about out of these four. I'm not trying to ruin this at all, but I think this is, for the most part, this is the guy that's ranked the highest. The penalties are a problem. My concern, though, Landon, like one of my only knocks on him is he big enough to play in Dan Quinn's scheme? Because, well, first of all, we know Will McClay loves long corners, and unfortunately, his length is just a little bit less than ideal. He has 31-inch arms. The Cowboys typically like their outside cornerbacks to be 32.5 or longer. They want their outside cornerbacks to be 200 pounds or heavier. He weighed in at 192 at his pro day, so a little on the smaller side. Now, the athleticism certainly makes up for it, in my eyes at least. But will it for McClay and Dan Quinn? That's where I don't know. I love his ability to drive on the football, and that's why I really think maybe like in an off scheme or in a cover 2 scheme where he can just jump routes. I think he's fantastic. In a cover 3 scheme, I don't doubt that he can do it. I'm just not sure that's his best fit in the NFL.
I think that's it, right? Like he and it's not just his arm length. He has really small wingspan, which can, sometimes if arm length isn't going to get you wingspan, they'll say, okay, well, you measured it slightly different, and he does have long arms. Both of those were incredibly small. I think he can do both, well. But I definitely agree that you're getting the most out of this player likely if you are putting him in a scheme where he plays a little bit of both, but mostly in off man. I think his click and close is rare. I think the thing that is rare about him as a player is that you don't find very many guys who have technique in off coverage that also are pretty adept at press man. It's his issues are not his technique in press man; it's his size. So Yeah, I agree. I think Newsome is definitely a step above the rest of these guys simply because I think more teams are going to desire him. And more teams are going to say that he's a fit for their system. I think some of these other guys you could say maybe are better specific scheme fits, whereas Newsome, like I said, scheme agnostic. I think he's going to be on every single team's draft board that needs a cornerback, and he'll be considered when, somewhere in the middle to late middle of the first round.
It feels like he's probably, like it's starting at like 24, 25, and he's probably gone by pick 35 at the very latest, right? That's his range. So I do agree. Fantastic player. I just don't know how likely it is that he gets to the Cowboys at 44.